Hello and welcome to Finn's Forza Fixerupper. I'm Finn and I'll be taking one of the 640 cars in Forza Horizon 4 and giving them a bit of a makeover. Going into this episode, I am at a loss. I genuinely do not know which car to fix up today. If only there was a way the universe could pick it for me. Through the power of the internet! So on the right of me you can see every single manufacturer that's in Forza Horizon 4. That's every single manufacturer that is on a physical car, not any fictional cars. So there's no Halo Warthog, there's no Final Fantasy 15 Quartz Regalia car. All the real world manufacturers in that wheel over there, 130 of them. I'm going to spin the wheel. I'm going to find out which car I'm going to be fixing up today in this episode. So without further ado, I'm going to click the button and see what happens. That is making my eyes hurt. And we're going on to a Hyundai. We're going to be making up a Hyundai today. So I've just had a look on the Forza garage and there's only one. So on this episode I'm going to be souping up the Hyundai Veloster N. The Hyundai Veloster N was introduced to the public in the manufacturer's home country of South Korea in 2011 as a descendant of the Tiburon. This 2019 high-performance model has a 6-speed manual transmission with a turbocharged 4-cylinder 2-litre engine. The 3-door city car's front-wheel drive feels light and nippy in the corners and yet super responsive to even the smallest of nano manoeuvres on the long straights. It's also quite beefy for a city run around, at 4.2 metres long and 1.8 metres wide. That's roughly 2.5 marks by 1 Nathan wide. For optional extras, the hot hatch retails for just over £20,000, or $27,600 if you're American. The Veloster N was South Korea's attempt at capturing the US hot hatchback market. Ultimately, it was a failed experiment as the Veloster N sold pitifully, managing only 20,440 sales in its first 2 years. But even then, it wasn't until July this year that Hyundai finally pulled the plug and discontinued the whole Veloster range. My mission is to restore and enhance the Veloster N into the street-eating behemoth it was once since envisioned to be. Okay, so according to the game, there are 3 classes I can soup up the Veloster to. Class B, Class A, and Class S1. But because there's a choice, I'm going to have to do another spinning of the wheel. So let's find out which one we're getting this time. A lot easier on the eye this time round. Going with... Oh, it's just peaked into A class. We can do an A class Veloster. Hello. Can I help? We'll start the mechanical upgrades by improving the Veloster's aerodynamics. This carbon fibre front splitter and fins will help the car slide through lengthy city drifts like butter. A large spoiler will help us stay grounded whilst we're gliding through rush hour. Looking at the transmission now, we're swapping out to the drive shaft for a lightweight carbon fibre one, and I think we can get some more numbers out of our speedometer by including an adjustable sport transmission. The engine is getting a complete racing overhaul, starting with the exhaust, then moving on to the turbo. To compensate for the heat generated from all that added power, the intercooler, oil and cooling ports need to be exchanged for more durable, higher capacity models. If we really want to improve that launch stat, that stock ignition has to go. Upgrading to a wider intake will allow us to squeeze 12 extra brake horsepowers from Hyundai's high-performance engine. The camshaft and valves are getting polished and preened within an inch of their life, and the pistons are traded for a lighter alternative. Further weight is shaved off by jettisoning the spare tyre, spare car battery, toolbox and unnecessary interior trim. To turn the Veloster N into a street demon, we're dropping the suspension right down to the floor and employing some trusty racing brakes. Speed bumps be damned! It is a season of snowshoes, and that's exactly what the Veloster's getting here. Finally, we're installing some pretty conic daylight rims. Last little bits to cap off the A-Class performance bracket now. A brand new clutch that's more at home in a touring car than on the school run. And lastly, a carbon fibre flywheel to improve responsiveness and increase RPM. And that concludes the mechanical side of this upgrade. Let's go back to past Finn to find out how the Veloster fares in the paint shop. Oh, hi Finn! I wasn't expecting you back here so soon. Yeah, hi, can I have another wheel please? You want another wheel? Have you had enough choice already? No. Okay. Fine. Get on with it. The one on the right has every single colour or type of colour I can colour this car. There's a lot of words, the word colour in there. I'm going to spin it 3 times. I'm going to find out which 3 colours I'm going to be painting this Hyundai. So without further ado, here's the first colour. Okay, it's grey. Grey is the first colour. Not the first one I thought of, but grey is the first colour. Second colour. We're going gold. Grey and gold now. Okay, third and final colour. All going carbon fibre. It's going to be a gold, grey, carbon fibre Hyundai Veloster. N. Over to you, Future Finn. Please don't come back to me. Starting as always with the main bodywork, I initially thought about going with carbon fibre, but feared it would make the decals look too flat and industrial, so I switched it out for a shiny gold finish instead. Instantly brings some life back to the Veloster N. I tint the wind mirrors and side skirts grey with the carbon fibre highlights before again changing my mind and flipping them. Next I toy with the hood. I knew I wanted it to be a different colour from the bodywork, but couldn't decide between grey or carbon fibre. Eventually I settled on a polished carbon fibre as it appeared to blend nicely with the rest of the body panels and not look too much like a separate entity entirely. Onto the rims, they get the grayscale treatment. The outer rim gets a matching gold finish, and the inner barrel is lined with a polished carbon fibre too. Finally, the windows are getting a muddy gold tint. Now, let's have a look at what we've done so far. I'm really happy with how this Hyundai has turned out, even when only restricted to 3 random colours. I've used the subdued contemporary colours of grey and carbon fibre to frame the more vibrant gold bodywork. I think this hatchback is well on its way to becoming an extra in a Fast and Furious movie. Now, every street racer needs a sick decal job, but before we can slap on any vinyls, we'll need to know the theme. And that's where my old friend Past Finn comes in. On the right, you'll see there's another board. It's got all the different themes I could possibly pick on there, so let's just press a button. Okay, so it's Supernatural. Over to you, Future Finn, for the very last time. I'll be honest here, I struggled with this theme. My first thoughts were something angelic or heavenly, but it seemed a bit basic and felt like it didn't quite fit the supernatural criteria. I knew I wanted to keep the gold, but contrast it with the grey somehow. I was desperately trying to grasp gold supernatural beings or cryptids in my head, until I saw this spiky vinyl. It kind of looks like the head and neck of a heron. And what's the first supernatural bird creature that comes to mind? What else but a majestic phoenix? I position the spiky vinyl over the front wheel arch until it looks like the tyre is wearing a grey Sonic the Hedgehog wig. Next, I select this squashed S shape. This will form the lower half of the Phoenix neck. This is then stamped and repositioned into like a lazy V shape. Adding an off-centre curve to thicken the neck and repositioning it all to soften the V shape as well. Now we need to construct the Phoenix wings. Conveniently, there is the perfect wing-shaped vinyl among the frame section. It doesn't need much adjustment within this design, as it follows a striking tribal layout. Afterwards, the back and shoulder are formed with a simple circle and sharp tooth vinyls. The beak is formed from these triangular Go Faster stripes. Turning my attention to the other end, I tackle the delicate tail plumes with these decals that look like parts of a fleur-de-lis. I place a few alternatives down, as well as bunch them together over the rear quarter panel. Using this wavy horn shape, I stretch it under the wing to frame out the Phoenix belly and connect the tail plumes, then filling in the negative space. Moving on to the Phoenix's legs and feet, I find this tribal claw vinyl and position it under the wing. The leg is then constructed out of this flame thicker decal. After much adjustment, I find a position that looks right. This is then copied and recoloured for the leg that's in shadow. The chest is framed and filled in, first with a teardrop, followed by a lemon. The Phoenix beady eye is made from a simple egg shape, which is then stamped and recoloured twice more to form the cornea, iris and pupil. And a squash circle becomes the nostril. As the Phoenix pretty much blocked out, now we need to make it stand out more by making it 3D. Starting with the tail, I recolour the plumes from dark to light grey. The wing gets a lighter grey finish as well. Whilst we're here, we might as well clean up the messy edges by bringing the wing forward. Further cleanup occurs at the base of the tail plumes. Using another wavy horn vinyl, I clean up the chest area as well. Onto the finishing touches. The sheer edges under the tail plumes are broken up with a line of concave triangles. This is then followed up with a row of semicircles. I take the time here to recolour the beak to a lighter grey to distinguish it from the rest of the body, and then relocate the eye. With the tribal Phoenix design complete, it just needs copying over to the other side and repositioning to finish the sides. Let's move on to the bare hood and roof now. My concept for this spiky stingray design is an abstract swoop of a bird at top speed. I stamped this design 4 more times, recolouring each time and offsetting slightly to accentuate the momentum of the image, and then carry this forward onto the hood. Turning this lopsided S shape 90 degrees and repeating it in a tall grid pattern creates a nice runway of feathers on the hood of the Veloster, and carrying this forward onto the roof neutralises the solid gold with a more energetic contrasting design. I take extra care here to bring the abstract bird above the feathers to make it stand out a little bit more. On to the final part of the build. The abstract bird design we made earlier is copied onto this side and located just under the rear lights, pointing to the roof. The aim here was to draw the eye up and forward following the same straight line of the runway and larger bird at the hood. And with that, the Hyundai Veloster N is complete. Just minutes ago, the already large and nimble Hyundai Veloster N was more than ready to do the food shop, fuel up and head home in less time than it takes the kettle to boil. But now with its fully operational street racing upgrades, it can soar through heavy traffic. Sideways. Despite my initial reservations, I've also relished being at the mercy of a randomizer this episode. It challenged me to think outside the box and create something I wouldn't have normally thought of. Yeah, the Phoenix looks a little bit janky in places, and there are parts that, if I'd given more time to, I would probably redo. But I think that's part of the charm of building it freehand. And if you've loved what you've seen here today and want me to keep making these, don't forget to slide over that like button and caress the subscribe button too if you haven't already. Bye everyone!